Hello and welcome to another episode of Grown Ass Citizens. I'm going to title this episode Masters of Chaos. Masters of Chaos. Chaos. That's what we're going to call it. And do you remember back when in the day when they used to have Get Smart and they had Chaos and Chaos was the bad guys? And it's funny to me now that we are actually the masters of chaos and we are the bad guys all over the world. And this is directly related to uh, um, the project for a new American century. I mentioned it in other videos before. If you haven't looked that up, all you have to do is Google it, the Project for a New American Century, and you will see how Victoria Nuland, who was the person responsible, the key personnel in engineering the coup in Ukraine, and she's been with the State Department now for a long time. She's held several positions in upper government, all of them advisory in nature, and all of them related to European interests of the U.S. And so I invite you to take a look at that document in its entirety so that you can really get a clear indication of what's getting ready to happen here in the United States of America as well as the rest of the globe. So that's what we're dealing with. The government is all broken down. You all know about this North American treaty between Canada and Mexico and the U.S. And that's why this is immigration. And that's why they're letting everybody flood the country because it's all going to be one thing anyway. Once again, the project for a new American century. If you reference that, everything that's happening in the world will make sense to you. And so now that helps me segue right into Iraq. And this is what I'm going to say about the Iraq War Part 3. Same parties involved, more or less. This sequel to the War on Terror, that's what I'm calling it, is basically predictable, and it is, to say the least, a disappointing plot because at the end, everybody, loses. Now, ISIL, just so you know, is documented that they're funded by the Saudis and by Qatar and the United States. And they're using United States made, manufactured, shipped, and weapons that the United States provided them with to now be the problem for the United States. I don't know. This sick pitting each side against each other goes all the way back to the Khazars when they started doing that way back at the beginning of the Rothschild um, takeover of the world when it began initially. And they started funding both sides of wars in Europe, European wars, and then that bled over to them funding both sides of wars here in the U.S., the American Revolution, the Civil War. These are things you would have to go and look up on your own because I'm not getting ready to start from scratch trying to catch you up. I told you all, grown-ass citizens do their own research. So now we have just a mess of the United States duplicating this really idiotic, and I say the U.S., but you got to remember that the United States, first of all, as we know it, is not the United States of America that was originally founded. Whenever I'm talking about the United States government or the United States of America right now in this context, I am referring to the United States of America Incorporated, which is the corporate entity that is run by other corporate oligarchs, and that's who's running the world. So let's just get clarity. That's who I'm talking about. And so this pattern of funding both sides, pitting both ends against one another, that is what I'm now referring to as they are the masters of chaos. They go everywhere in the world where people don't want to cooperate, and they create chaos to destroy the infrastructure of their country so that they can go in, bleed all the resources dry and leave the country in a shambles. This is what we see in Libya. This is what we now see in Iraq. I mean, how could you be there for 10 years and this is the way that it's turning out? You haven't prepared anybody for anything. All you did was take a whole lot of money that you got approved from Congress to spend billions and billions of dollars to basically pay off the military industrial complex, complex to create chaos. That's what we're paying for. So every time you hear Obama's going to Congress to ask for money to send to Syria to help the moderate rebels, to ask for money to send to Ukraine to help the Kiev government, to ask for money to send to Nigeria to fight the Boko Haram, who they actually funded before and trained and knew that they existed and put them there for the purpose of creating chaos. Every time you hear that scenario, it's the same scenario, it's the same players, and basically it dates back to this strategy of funding both sides of a conflict, because it's good for corporate business. It's good for the funders, and it's good for corporate business. And that is now basically what has evolved into this oligarchical system, feudal system that we're now living under. It's all a smokescreen, people. It's all a smokescreen. Don't, hey, look, pay no attention. How about we do it like this? Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Pay no attention to the lady behind the curtain, whatever you do. Pretend like you don't see me, okay? I'm not really here, and I'm not really doing anything. That's, unfortunately, my friends, the world that we're living in. So my prayer for the universe is that we all wake up once again and slap ourselves and get busy doing something to bring some kind of information to your fellow man, and be ready for the wailing. That's going to be our next episode from The Watchmen. The wailing that's going on in the world, because everybody's flipping out. Oh yeah, baby, it's mine. We'll see you the next time on Grown Ass Citizens TV. Peace and blessings. It's my time to spread my wings and sing about what makes me shine on